Hello, folks. Welcome back to Lady Vinyl Gaming. Here with another episode of Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York. First things first, I do want to apologize for the audio issues we had last time. I have rechecked the meters, and we are doing it correctly this time, so it is fixed up. If you did skip over last episode, I do not blame you. I have issues when the audio is messed up and I can't understand, so that's perfectly understandable. I really wish I remember what the heck happened. Oh, we got beat up by Boss Callahan, who is the head of the Anarchs, but it helped us get in good with Torque, who is the underhead of the Anarchs, to help Sophie Langley get rid of Callahan. And I have no problems getting Callahan the frick out of there, because he's an asshole who had my ass kicked. We did mess up, and I don't believe I'm the one that staked him, but I got to beat up the guy who had beat up me, and then they staked him. So he is lying in torpor somewhere that I have no idea. Torpor means he basically cannot move, has no abilities to do anything, is basically a lifeless body, but is not actually dead. That's how vampires work in this game. It's how they've always worked. It's not a new thing in Vampire the Masquerade Coteries. It's how the actual rules work. So he's not in final death. And we still have half the night left to figure out what we are going to do. Our choices, just in case you're not watching these back to back, because these are audio only releases every Tuesday. But we have the Tremere, who I am not dealing with in the slightest. We have Benoit, who wants me to meet Father Anthony. I'm honestly kind of wondering how that's going to go. We also have Frank Doherty, who is a pain in the ass reporter. Our investigator buddy, D'Angelo. We have Tamika, who is in charge of one of the parks. I don't remember which one, but she's kind of up there. And then Hope, who wants us to help her break into Kara Montgomery's company. Literal company, not like, hey, you're my buddy, you're part of the company that I keep. Like, no. Like an actual company that she owns, or runs at the very least. We're going to see what Benoit has us doing, because the first thing we're going to do tomorrow is the meetup for Torque and Mia with Sophie Langley and myself. So before we end up doing that, what'll be tomorrow night, let's go talk to Benoit. Approaching the cathedral on the street makes you nervous. You've been here twice, and twice something bad has happened, or almost happened, as in both cases you ran away. Benoit suggested it's time to stop running and experience faith head on. Perhaps he's right. Maybe it is cowardly to take refuge in rationalizations when you know what you felt. The holiness of the priest and your own damnation. Walking towards the door of the cathedral, you glance at the bench where you sat when you first met Benoit. He's waiting for you, sitting and contemplating the cathedral's Gothic architecture. I wasn't certain I even wanted to talk to you after last time. I understand. I'm happy you chose to come. Benoit looks different than before. Intense, certain. I've had some time to think about what we spoke of before. I want to learn more about Cain, about where we all came from. All in good time. I have something different in mind for tonight, as you surely remember. Let's go see Father Anthony. It's best not to talk in the cathedral, so I arranged for us to see him at his home. I have a car nearby. This better be on the level, Benoit. We're beyond that kind of tough talk, don't you think? You follow Benoit as he walks down the street until you come to his car, a surprisingly pedestrian family sedan. The essence of the masquerade is inconspicuousness. Nobody expects a vampire to drive a car like this. Benoit drives north towards Queens. During these moments, you feel most synonymous. Just another speck of dust in a vast machine where every action influences the whole in tiny ways. The one thing you've learned about the kindred is that they are not lacking in self-regard. The prince of a Camarilla city is said to rule a domain, yet how much do they really affect mortal affairs? If you ask a vampire, they'll say a lot. Perhaps that's what made Benoit turn inward, the futility of finding meaning in a secret, predatory existence. Benoit stops in front of a red brick row house, a little run down, but probably not cheap. Benoit notes your interest. Father Anthony comes from an old New York family. He inherited the house. When I first met him, I was suspicious, so I checked up on him. Despite the way he keeps putting you in dangerous situations, kindred paranoia seems to come naturally to Benoit. Perhaps that's something you can learn from him. Does he know we're coming? Yes, I spoke with him beforehand. He's concerned about our souls. You follow Benoit to the stairs, looking around for any signs of an ambush. As you get to the door, the first signs of trepidation hit. The discomfort, the pain that'll follow once you're inside. It feels like a physical thing, a burning sensation under your skin and your blood. You look to see how Benoit is taking it. He's smiling, eyes closed for a second, before knocking on the door. Almost as if he's enjoying the sensation. The door opens, and you see Father Anthony's kindly face. Your body feels as if it's in a vice. You haven't really been bothered by hot or cold since you were embraced, but now it feels like the surface of your skin is overwhelmed with sensation. The fear and terror are paralyzing. Yes? You barely hear Benoit's whisper. Come in, you two. I might not know much, but I know enough not to do this on the porch. You force yourself to follow Father Anthony into the apartment, despite the splitting headache and rising panic. It's hard to take in your surroundings. Everything seems to vibrate, seeking to engulf you. Framed portraits on a mantelpiece, a cross on the wall, a living room with lots of books. Many of them old. I'm not sure I can offer you anything. You don't drink tea, I suppose. No, we don't. If this is holiness, why does it feel like pain? Oh, my child, I understand that, thanks to your condition, you're under unusual stress. Please, Father, you know this is difficult for us. You'll forgive me if I don't waste time. Father Anthony looks pained, whether because of the rudeness or out of sympathy for your condition, you can't tell. He motions for you to sit down, but you and Benoit are both too agitated to do so. You feel trapped, like a moth being smeared against a burning light bulb. It's hard to look at Father Anthony, but you can't look at anything else either. Benoit is starting to look increasingly unhinged. His eyes look as if he's seeing into some divine beyond, just outside the grasp of your senses. Now's the time, my friend. If you decided if you're ready for salvation, prove your faith by embracing the Father and let His radiance envelope you. Yes, I'm ready. Benoit smiles cruelly as you fall to your knees in front of Father Anthony. Startled, Father Anthony takes a step back. Benoit, what are you doing? Father, it's time to be redeemed. both of us. Benoit falls to his knees next to you, lifting his face in full embrace of the holy agony. This is not right, Benoit. Everyone has a chance for salvation. I understand there's something in God's presence that burns you, but you can work through it. Please, Benoit, there are many paths to salvation. We'll find yours. I won't hurt you and your friend. Benoit moans in pain, stricken with grief and disbelief at Father Anthony's refusal. Father, please, I don't even believe, not truly. Father Anthony looks at you and seems to waver. Even his belief in salvation has limits. I didn't want to do either. I believe, Father. I just need to find the way. Your response makes Father Anthony steel his resolve. He is a man of grace, and he believes salvation extends to everyone, even vampires. Benoit, your weakness blinds you. Sometimes a martyr succumbs to a special kind of vanity, where they imagine their pain is holiness. Yet our goal must always be to help our fellow man find the right path. Benoit is still kneeling. He looks at Father Anthony in confusion and surprise. Please, Father, forgive me. I don't know. Shush, Benoit. We have time to talk. Meanwhile, I think it's better for your friend to leave. I can't claim to understand the effect I seem to have on your kind, but I'm not convinced it's all salutary. Father Anthony looks at you kindly. Go. I hope we can talk again someday. There is hope for everyone, even you. You are weeping, tears of blood staining your cheeks. Staggering and stumbling, you retreat to the door, the distance between you and the Father already making it hurt less. You hear Benoit's whispered confessions behind you as you escape to the night. You're safe, but the implications of your experience are troubling. What does this mean? Whether practical or spiritual? What does this mean? Whether practical or spiritual, it feels like you have to think about this for a long time. You're free to return to your haven, and there's a distinct temptation to keep the events of the night to yourself, if these events cannot be good for the masquerade. Sometimes the right choice is to do nothing at all. You walk back to your haven, alone as usual, among the people who crowd the New York sidewalks, even at night. Holiness hurts. That's the inescapable conclusion from what happened. Hard to say what words like salvation and damned mean in modern nights, but the way you felt in Father Anthony's presence is an unavoidable fact. Father Anthony and his faith is the key. You could walk into a church and fondle a cross to your heart's content. None of that means anything. It's only in the presence of living faith that holiness becomes manifest. Perhaps one day you'll have the courage to go back to Father Anthony. Wake up. This is not your haven. It's a cramped space. You try to move your arms and find they're tied to your body. You can barely bend your legs. When you try to stretch your neck, you hit a cold ceiling. You can't quite believe it, but this is a coffin, or something close enough to it. It vibrates slightly, but you can't hear any sounds coming from outside. It's entirely dark. You kick the front of the container. The only reaction is a dull metallic. The only reaction is a dull metallic. The only reaction is a dull metallic sound. You try using your fist, but there's just not enough room to get a good punch in. It seems pretty hopeless. Some more tries. Nothing. This is bad. Suddenly, The container has moved slightly. A moment of silence. An indistinct male voice shouting. A muffled shot. Silence again. The lid comes off. What the... I'll be damned, the shifty fucker delivered the goods. Tell me I didn't just cut the driver up for nothing. We gotta scram and fast. Follow us. Seeing their faces is surprising, even more so in these circumstances. However, you realize the immediate danger and follow your companions out of the car and down a street in North Bronx. The van has crashed into another car. A familiar face, that of Kaiser School Jackie, stumbles out of the wrecked sedan and slinks away into the darkness before you can call after him. The three of you jog away toward the line of the trees and take shelter under some branches, just as you hear a chopper approaching. Its searchlight illuminates the wrecked van and moves towards you. Lay low. D'Angelo does his disappearing trick and vanishes from sight. You look at Tamika and almost do a double take and you see her submerged up to her neck in the soil. She then disappears entirely underground. You're left alone with just seconds to make your move before the spotlight finds you. Seeing no better option, you find the nearest bush and dive right under it. It's probably not the best or smartest thing to do, but you have to trust your gut. The illumination passes only inches away from you, but it's just a pattern of light on the ground. The trees block a good portion of it. It doesn't dwell on you. It doesn't seem like they've spotted you, or any of your companions. The helicopter flies on, searchlight frantically moving through the vicinity as your companions once again appear in your proximity. Nice job, kid. They seem to be moving on. Come on, before those SI fucks change their mind. Wait, the Second Inquisition? What do they have to do with anything? Wait here, both of you. Tamika, fill them in. I'll go scout ahead. The SI nabbed you 2 days ago. They raided your haven, staked you while you slept, and took off with you. We only learned this last night, from Kaiser of all kindred. Wait, how did the SI know where I lived? Might have something to do with you hanging out with me. We've been on the SI's radar ever since Luca was killed. Or you just fucked up at some point and got marked as a potential target. Hey, I saw Kaiser pull up. Come on, time to blow this joint. Kaiser's familiar car stops nearby and the back door opens. Your allies usher you inside and join you. Being inside this mobile fortress never felt like a relief. Until now. Hey, fledgling, miss me? Actually, yeah, I kinda did. Aw, that's so sweet. I hate to break it to you, but I didn't take a sudden liking to you. I'm here on business. Brand. You'd know a thing or two about that, wouldn't you, detective? You're here now only because I told your buddies that you were neck deep in shit. That van you're in, a one-way ticket to Hartville, Pennsylvania. I broke you out as a favor. Now you owe me big. How the hell did you know the SI broke into my haven and took me away? Is that a piss-poor attempt at an insult, fledgling? I've kept eyes on you ever since that little job you did for me in Nolita. You know, in case I needed you for something else, I had to know your comings and goings. I have an idea of why I have a good idea why the SI hit you, Jade. Not that there aren't tons of good reasons for it. It might have been one of these, for instance. The screen in Kaiser's car flicker, and each of them now shows a short looped clip. It's you, getting into a fight, feeding, using one of your powers. You haven't exactly kept a low profile, fledgling. I get it, you're new to this, you didn't know better, yada yada yada. The fact is, the SI has tons of this stuff. Security camera footage, YouTube videos posted by onlookers, social media posts from victims, you name it. Like I said though, I don't think any of these did you in. Slip-ups happen. Not to you though, right? I always wondered why it is that you can drive a pompously luxurious limo around New York City and not get caught. What's your secret? Body doubles? Decoy cars? Kaiser smiles, knowing that Kaiser smiles, knowing for that going for that anthropomorphic piranha look you saw a few times before. You know what killed the cat, don't you, Finch? D'Angelo freezes and scratches his face, looking fiercely at the other Nosferatu. You notice that his hands are shaking. Well, do you? Stop shutting on the upholstery and answer. Or should I use your given name, too? You know why the cat groped. You would, wouldn't you? You've never seen D'Angelo serve anyone a death stare quite like the one he's shooting Kaiser now. As much as I enjoy tempting your overinflated ego, we're nearing our destination, so I think I'll move on. The reason I need you walking and talking, Jade, is to test a hypothesis of mine. For that, I need you to finish what you were tasked to do. So, first things first. Here. He hands you a phone. The number has already been dialed. You hear the tone. Somebody picks up. Who is this? It's me, Sophie. Jade, are you okay? Fine and dandy. Kaiser, what are you doing on this line? What do you think? It's my phone your protege is using, so keep it snappy. Operating a secure network isn't cheap. Come on, Jade, spit it out. Angelo and Tamika saved me from the Second Inquisition, Sophie. I only got out because of them. Your companions look at one another knowingly. Asai, that's what I feared. Listen, the plan. You need to do it tonight. If the Inquisition is involved, and you broke out, they'll be looking for you. So we can't meet in public. I have a place in mind, but Kaiser, are you still listening? Would I tell you if I wasn't? Jade, call this number from... Jade, call this number from where you visited before last we spoke. I'll come pick you up. She hangs up. And that's that. Gotta tell you, kid, this entire conversation is my curiosity, alright? Yes, I feel I missed the part where you were involved in some conspiracy. Ha! Them, us, D'Angelo here, and every other kindred in this goddamn city, and everyone else as far as I know. We'll talk more after our mutual acquaintance continues with their night. If my intel is worth a damn, your next stop, Jade, is right about here. The car comes to a stop, and the door opens. Outside, you see the street leading to Solids and Stripes, Torque's pool pub. Well, you need me to kick you out? How the fuck do you know about my visit here 2 nights back? I might have mentioned before that I know shit is kind of my business. Plus, you didn't exactly make it much of a secret now, did you? The clock is ticking. I think I know what Sophie wants to do tonight, and if I'm right, tonight's the last chance you've got. If you want to say bye to your buddies before you go, that's fine by me, but that schedule of yours is pretty hectic, so you better do it now and scram. You say your goodbyes quickly and step out of the car. It feels strange, as if those were your last moments together. You shake off that feeling. You have other things to worry about. You turn around and make your way to the bar. The door closes behind you, and Kaiser's limo starts moving again. You hope your companions won't have to pay too high of a price for helping you. The Solids and Stripes is pretty much abandoned tonight, with only the bartender and one bleary-eyed local watching an old Bogart movie on the bar's screen. You ask to use the phone and call Sophie first. Yes? I'm at the bar. Good, we'll be there in 15 minutes. If Torque's not there, notify him. We need to move, and fast. She hangs up. You tell the bartender to notify Torque. Just like the Anarch leader mentioned you should. The man makes a short call. You only hear somebody picking up, but no words exchanged. The owner's on his way right now. Can I get you anything while you're waiting? Actually, do you serve the special stuff? The bartender raises an eyebrow. A special reserve, you mean? Sorry, I only serve that to a narrow selection of the owner's friends. Listen, it's been a rough night. Give me a break, please. Just a sip. Oh no, I really shouldn't. What the hell? You really do look like you need it. He takes out a bottle from a safe behind the counter and pours a bit of brown liquid into a glass. It's whiskey. There, enjoy. Your disappointment is palpable. At least the smell is nice. Torque comes in some 10 minutes later without Mia. He tips his hat to you, puts a hand on the bleary-eyed patron's shoulder, and says something to him under his breath. They both laugh. Hi, how's the night going? Quiet, sir. Just how you like it, huh? Torque notices the untouched glass with a bit of whiskey in it, which you persuaded the bartender to pour. For me, you shouldn't have. He takes the glass and drinks the liquid, moving it around in his mouth before swallowing. He looks you in the eye. Sure, I won't keep it in forever, but the night when I don't enjoy the taste of good whiskey is the night when I truly consider myself damned. Well, Jade, I believe you wanted me here for a reason. Let's hear it. You're about to tell him what brought you here, when the doors of the bar open, and Sophie walks in, all splendor and charisma. The patron's eyes are now glued to her, and so are the bartenders. Torque isn't happy with the sight. Well, this isn't what we agreed on, Jade. Care to explain? Things got complicated. We had to improvise. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. I believe Jay already told you why I'm here. Not in any detail. And the circumstances of our meeting were supposed to be different. So, Ms. Langley, tell me why I shouldn't ask you to leave and kick out your protege while I'm at it. You will like what I have to say. Yeah, I've heard that line 100 times, but 99 of those ended with somebody getting hurt. That's not something I'm in the mood for tonight. We are wasting time. There's a unique opportunity we should take advantage of, and we only have an hour or so to discuss it before it will be time to act. My driver is waiting outside. Wait a goddamn minute. First of all, I'm not going anywhere without Mia. That was the deal. Second, it's Jade who is supposed to do the driving, not your servant. Both, certainly. So really it's of little difference. The circumstances changed and we had to adapt. Don't be stubborn. Foolishness does not suit you. I have a secure spot in mind where we can talk. I'll stop you right there. Torque is seething, but he's keeping a lid on his anger. His voice barely changes. My conditions were clear. The way I hear it, you want to break each one of them. I see no reason at all to agree to any of this. I believe I'll be staying put tonight. You have places to be, yes? Torque, you're throwing away the only chance you have at challenging Callahan. Don't be a fool. The lid comes off. Call me a fool one more time, woman, and that's not the only thing I'm gonna be throwing. You're both acting like children. You need to put your differences aside and see each other's... You're both acting like children. You need to put your differences aside and see the other's point of view. Both Sophie and Torque glare at you. No power. Just their personas are enough to make you feel like you prefer to be anywhere else but here. Who the fuck do you think you are? There's only one child here, Jade. You're their patron, Langley. What does that tell us? What are you implying, you insolent... Shots break the front windows and a flashbang goes off in the room, changing the bar into a space of white light and ringing noise. You feel somebody tugging at your back and are thrown behind the bar. More shots ring out, bottles break, the TV shatters into pieces, the wooden bar splinters. Your sight comes back, but you think you've gone deaf because suddenly the room is silent. You see Torque beside you, and Marty the bartender bleeding out on the floor. You look over the bar. Sophie is standing there, her dress partially tattered, a visible hole in her leg. She's like the heart of a supernova, entrancing, unavoidable, beautiful, and terrifying. In front of her are 8 operatives looking like a private military force, just standing there, paralyzed by Sophie's magnificence. Torque, you still there?
Yeah.
Would you kindly show your guests some hospitality?
Sure thing.
The Anarch is gone in the blink of an eye, and he reappears next to one of the soldiers. The armor-clad operative's head disappears in a puff of blood and bone. The same thing happens to the second, the third. You hear the radios go off on the other soldiers' shoulders. A panicked voice pleading them to wake up. The 4th head pops. The 5th. They finally realize what's happening, but it's too late. The 6th man is beheaded by what you now see is just Torque's bare-fisted punch. Torque stops by the 7th man, rips something off his neck, and bites down. Sophie walks over to the last man and has him kneel in front of her before biting as well. On your right, a man in full body armor emerges from the back door, raising his assault rifle.
What the fuck?
It's not smart, but it's what your instincts tell you to do. You jump in front of the soldier just as he pulls the trigger. Bullets sink into your body, ripping and tearing your flesh, each projectile a microbomb exploding inside you. A combat knife crashes through the soldier's visor into his skull. A combat knife crashes through the soldier's visor and into his skull. You turn around. Torque is grinning. He mouths something under his breath.
Lonely?
Sophie wipes her mouth with blood and looks at him.
That meeting's still an item?
Yes.
I'll take it.
Splendid. Torque walks behind the bar and checks on the vampire. Torque walks behind the bar and checks on the bartender. You see the Anarch open his own wrists and feed blood to the wounded man.
Drink up, Marty. It'll make you feel better. Get the hell out of here and wait for Mia. She's coming, and she'll know what to do.
Torque?
Yeah, coming. Take the back door. Jade, come on.
You slink back into an alley behind the bar, leaving 10 bodies and 1 grievously wounded ghoul behind. Nobody stops you from circling around the block and finding your way to Sophie's car. Gregory drives away casually, as if this was just another late-night drive, and not the crowning of a desperate, complicated evening. Sophie brings you all to a luxurious apartment in Manhattan's Upper West Side. The way she explains it, the vampire who owned it left the city a few years ago and gave away spare keys to a few trusted compatriots. It's been used sporadically since.
Fancy.
You like it? It's always felt too modern for my taste, but what's important is that it's secure.
As long as nobody followed your car here, or the fledgling. Trouble follows this one wherever they go.
Even if that's the case, we have very little time to conduct our business here anyways, and we'll be leaving soon, I hope. So let's begin. You look at Sophie, excited. Finally, you will learn what it is that you've been working towards for more than a week, and what it is that Kaiser wanted you to participate in. I have it on good authority that Boss Callahan is blood-bound to Prince Panhard. Torque sucks air loudly.
That's an accusation and a half there, Langley. Got proof?
No, but we're just a boat ride away from getting it.
What is that supposed to mean?
Jade, the address that I procured from Kaiser was the meeting spot for Panhard's and the Baron's regular sharing of blood and other bodily fluids, if that... Jade, the address that I procured from Kaiser was the meeting spot for Panhard's and the Baron's regular sharing of blood and other bodily fluids, if the rumors are true.
Wait, Kaiser knew about this?
Is there anything that insufferable clump of dead skin doesn't know in this city? He knows things, but only shares them if you pay. Neither the prince nor Callahan can touch him. He's too useful. Kaiser said something about having plans for me, that he wanted me to make this meeting happen. That can't be good, right? That is an interesting point. I think Kaiser might be as interested in shaking up the status quo as we are. A chaotic landscape makes for a great market for him, unlike a static one.
I don't like playing into that creep's hands, but at least now I know what I'm doing. The devil you know and all that. What was the address he gave you?
They meet regularly on Ellis Island. In fact, their next scheduled meeting starts in just around a half an hour.
Hot damn. I'm guessing you want to crash this meeting? Why?
So you can see the proof for yourself, so that I can make sure too. And so that I have an extra pair of eyes for Panhard to consider when I present to her my ultimatum. The prince must abandon her seat and leave New York City. She can go wherever she pleases, but if she stays, the entire court will know, and the next prince might not look favorably on her past. Dealing with anarchs, especially so close, is a punishable offense in the Camarilla, as I'm sure you've heard.
So I did.
Torque strokes his beard and looks intently at Sophie.
What exactly you're trying to accomplish here? Say you remove Planhard, and I even remove Callahan. Then what?
Torque, did you ever wonder why Callahan is keeping you in check? Because I wondered why the prince condemns anarchs during her visit to Elysium, but doesn't allow the Ivory Tower to challenge you. She or they have engineered this status quo not for the good of their sex, but for private gain. They keep us all in line because it lets them hold onto power that much longer.
And your goal is what? Make this Cold War turn hot? Not a great plan. You camis will get your butts kicked out of New York City in no time.
If you anarchs manage to organize, which I doubt you will. At any rate, it's a risk I'm willing to take. I don't stand alone in this. This entire operation has been years in the making. Torque, I'm offering you a chance to square things with Callahan and level the playing field. If we get rid of these two, we can start on equal footing at the next stage of this dance macabre. Do I factor into this plan at all? Yes, we'll be taking you with us to Ellis Island, both as another set of eyes to witness the prince and baron in the act, but as a bit of added security. I don't think Helene or Callahan would dare to lay a finger on me, but they would not find me unprepared. They will not find me unprepared.
You know, after all these years spent in Callahan's shadow and taking part in all the kindred dick measuring contests, I should expect a ruse. Some ploy to kick me in a out-of-the-way place. That's our inherent paranoia talking. My gut tells me it's time to get this show started. I do hope you have a boat nearby, Langley.
Sophie smiles mischievously. Of course I do. It's waiting for us by the pier.
Lead the way then. Moonlight's burning.
The three of you leave the apartment and walk toward the pier. Nobody seems to be following you. You get on a small patrol boat and double time it through the Hudson's cold, dark waters. Out of all the places in NYC where the prince and the baron can meet, and it's Ellis Island, a landmark with a dark past. A museum on one hand, a dilapidated piece of history on the other. You leave the boat and make your way to the southern part of the island, paying no heed to the renovated tourist attractions on the north side. You expect some resistance, a night guard, a helicopter flying overhead, or maybe an NYPD patrol boat. Nothing. The island seems completely deserted. It's clear this sets Sophie on edge. She's moving as quietly and subtly as ever, but you can see that she's eager to reach the particular house her intel pointed out. Torque is following suit, grimly determined, flashing his piercing gaze all over, still clearly uncertain that this isn't some kind of con. Finally, you see it, light coming from a window in one of the buildings at the edge of the island. The three of you slowly creep closer to the building and take a look inside the window. There it is, Callahan kneeling in front of the prince, sucking on Panhard's wrist, both fully clothed. A small blessing. Torque makes his move, and before Sophie can stop him, he busts through the building's doors. It all happens very quickly. Torque grabs Callahan by the shoulders and throws him through the still open door. Callahan hits hits the ground hard. Torque appears on top of him and starts punching.
You fucker. You piece of shit.
Stop! The prince's voice takes hold for just long enough to make Torque relent, which the Baron uses to the fullest. He shoves Torque off of himself and tries to bite down. Prince, call off your lapdog. Langley, what is the meaning of this? The two anarchs break apart, both wounded, but neither is quite done yet. They look at one another with pure hatred. Kill the bitch, Helene, but leave the fledgling to me. Right after I deal with this shit stain, I'm gonna... A shrill and pleasant laugh fills the air. You know who it belongs to. So entertaining. Truly, it feels almost a shame to break up this spectacle. But alas... Thomas?
Who the fuck is this joker?
Yes, I don't think we've met, though I did hear a lot about you, Mr. Torque. My name is Thomas Arturo, and I... Callahan uses this moment of uncertainty to strike. He's still too slow for Torque, but throws the boss onto the lawn, where the two exchange blows once again. Helene, if you'd be so kind as to ask your friend to not hurt our guest too much. Callahan, don't kill him. This time, Callahan comes out on top and grabs Torque in an iron hold. Your companion struggles, but can't quite break away. I will not be allied, Helene, not this time. You will do as I command. And she will do as I command her, Douglas, old boy. What? Like I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted. I feel like I need to break up this little spectacle. It's been going on for much too long. You think you're so smart, Langley, you and your clique, figuring out there's something fishy going on all on your own, but you were always working with just a piece of the puzzle. Wasn't she, Jade? Sophie looks at you, shocked and disappointed. What are you... What I'm talking about, you ask? You fledgling, you don't know. How could you? Only I knew. And your sire, of course. They're the one who agreed to embrace you after some negotiations. You hear a scream and a curse. It's Callahan, whose arm has been nearly ripped off his body. Torque breaks out of the Baron's grasp, but doesn't continue the attack. Instead, he's at the edge of the water in the blink of an eye, and disappearing into the Hudson. The only trace left of him is his fedora. Another actor going off script at the very end, eh? No matter, let him bring us some amusement now that the production is almost wrapped up. He'll reach his allies, he'll tell everyone of this. Helene, even if we naively assume his nights aren't numbered now that he's in the SI's sights, this show must go on one way or another. Won't hurt to encourage leaks and speculation. Sophie looks at you. How could you, Jade? I saved you. Arturo suddenly appears next to her and slaps her in the face. Langley, what happened to your self-esteem? You can't really think a simple neonate has outplayed you. Or maybe this oblivious act is your way of groveling for mercy? Thomas, what? You thought that being an expert chess player would always be enough. You never realized that people at the top simply flip the chessboard around and punch you in the face whenever they don't like how the game is going. Emotions to the remaining kindred. But the thing is, you were never even adept at playing the game you knew. Jade, just another pawn placed on the board by my associate. You thought you were the piece. You thought they were your piece since you took them in. But who gave you that idea? You return to the night where you were judged by Prince Panhard. A woman in red, Sophie. Somebody speaking to her. A man in glasses. The man standing before you now. This is cruel. We know what's going to happen. If only somebody could speak up for the poor child, they could be a useful tool for the Camarilla. Terror creeps onto Sophie's face. Of course, those are not the words you heard, were they? No, you were already grasping for some opportunity to further your scheme. I put the bait out and you took it. Hook, line, and sinker. After that, it was only a matter of time before you started using Jade as your errand girl. No one is quite as easy to track and monitor as a naive fledgling who's just learning the ropes. What is it that you want, Thomas? What do I want? Oh boy. The answer is so simple, but so hard to put into words. Unstable stability. Cutting edge tales of thrills and intrigue that push it to the limit and then return you to the tried and tested status quo. Gently, infallibly. The system full of distracting moving parts which simulate conflict so convincingly that its users never feel a need to direct their energy toward upsetting the system. Achieving the eternal through the disposable. Building a city that's like a ship of Theseus. Theseus? Building a city that's like a ship of Theseus, constantly changing its parts, yet always maintaining the same purpose, serving the same goal at all times. A large-scale infrastructure that is something like an exhaust system for the spirits, something that disperses the toxicity around instead of concentrating it in a single place. None of what you're saying makes the slightest bit of sense. Arturo is momentarily stopped in his tracks. He stares into the sky for a few seconds before a sad grin appears on his face. Spoken like someone who's never really had what it takes to make it in the big leagues. With a theatrical snap of his fingers, he gives his last sentence a sense. With a theatrical snap of fingers, he gives his last sentence a sense of finality. Something's changed in the air. You could swear you saw a shadow move behind Sophie. Goodbye, Sophie. A disheveled woman with what looks like garden shears appears behind Sophie. Stop! You hear the shears snip. Sophie's red hair conceals her face as her head falls, separated from her shoulders. Silence. Arturo's unpleasant laughter erupts right next to you. Oh, Jade, your career is moving at a breakneck pace, moving up and up and up. Let me congratulate you on your promotion. Are you going to kill me too? That was the plan at some point, but I've had a change of heart since then. Helene, feel free to leave us and take the Baron with you. Thomas, I don't think you should. Shush, you're just being jealous. Adelaide, escort the prince and dear old Douglas, please. Sure thing, darling. You are left alone next to Sophie's body. You try not to look, but it's hard to ignore her lithe frame decomposing in front of your eyes. Congratulations, you've won this little game. You set out on a suicide mission and successfully brought down the power-hungry wannabe tyrant, even if it probably wasn't the way you imagined it. Now you're free to enjoy paradise again, life after death, immortality, eternal youth. What they don't tell you is, of course, living in paradise is inherently sinful when not everyone can partake, but you have time to learn how to live with sin, don't you? He takes a melancholy look at the city skyline surrounding him, the Statue of Liberty, and the lights of Manhattan shimmering in the distance. You know, New York taught me to believe in fate. My own life began right here, and it began without a despair. My first instinct was to drown myself in books and keep reading and reading until literature gave me the piece of wisdom I needed to go on. Personally, I find reading a silly hobby in retrospect. I always had this minuscule hope that the next sentence I'd read could finally bring me salvation, but it never did. It only gave me fuel for this elevated, righteous, intellectual suffering. But the more I read, the easier it was for me to boil every paragraph down to a power relationship, the characters' influence over each other, the writer trying to impress the reader, etc. The strings everyone pulls started to look like strands that weave into the fabric of fate. And once I saw its beauty, I got teary-eyed. My architect instincts kicked into overdrive. I didn't have to submit to fate. All I had to do was cooperate with it and wait for my time to shine, give it my input wherever needed until it trusted me to do more. Thomas steps over what's left of Soapy, wiping his glasses with an elegant cloth from his pocket. And it did. Fate let me look into the city. With my architect's tools, I started quietly shaping the streets and corridors, while Kaiser and his ilk shaped the information flow. And among many tools this process gave me, one of them was a way to reliably come up with a useful agent like you. The methods I used were crude at times, but the root was there, and
and all you had to do was follow it. Some people write rule books, passages, the other plans city arteries. In the end, the effect is the same. Someone always follows. He puts on the glasses and gives you a long, hard look. You know, I've grown fond of you. You did so well. Even when that idiot Callahan tipped the Inquisition off, you still got out. I like that kind of resourcefulness. I could use that kind of resourcefulness. He uncovers his wrist. So, take my blood. Just enough so we can start off on the right foot. As a sign of good faith. A sign that you're ready to play in the big leagues. Ready to behold the sights I've prepared for you. What do you say, Jade? Thank you all for coming along. We're probably going to take 1 week off, and then we will start up again with the next Vampire the Masquerade graphic novel, choose your own adventure video game. Yeah, but it will continue on Tuesdays, and continue being just an audio adventure. But you're more than welcome to follow along on the YouTubes and enjoy. So thank you, and have a good night.